Hello, welcome. I'm Scott
And
Dennis.
I'm Haley Wilkes.
Our top story tonight, a historic vote on Capitol Hill. House Republicans have passed their plan to repeal and replace Obamacare.
After a whirlwind 11th hour push this afternoon, the House passing the American Health Care Act. It's a big legislative win for President Trump and House Speaker Paul Ryan. ABC's Janae Norman shows us what the vote means for American families at this point.
A major win for President Trump.
And thanks to the leadership of President Donald Trump, welcome to the beginning of the end of Obamacare.
This is a repeal and a replace of Obamacare. Make no mistake about it.
House Republicans fulfilling their pledge to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act.
Are we going to be men and women of our word? Are we going to keep the promises that we made?
But is it a win for the American people? The latest ABC News Washington Post poll from last week showed just 37% of Americans say Obamacare should be repealed and replaced. 61% say it should be kept and fixed instead. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi saying Republicans are only making health care worse.
Does Trump care lower health costs? No. Does Trump care provide better health care?
The current bill that CBO previously estimated would mean 24 million Americans lose coverage over the next 10 years, phases out Obamacare subsidies in favor of tax credits to help Americans buy insurance, ends penalties over time for Americans without insurance, phases out the expansion of Medicaid, and allows states to opt out of the requirement that insurers cover basic health services like maternity care, mental health treatment, and even ambulances. But the fight isn't over. That bill, without its own score from the Congressional Budget Office, faces an uphill battle in the Senate.
You're walking the plank for what? A bill that will not be accepted by the United States Senate.
So many groups have come out against the GOP health care bill, from patient groups to health experts, even at least one big insurance company not for this plan, and it will be picked apart with a fine-tooth comb before senators cast their votes. Janae Norman, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
Governor Rick Scott making a stop on the Suncoast today to talk about his budget priorities for the state. Scott is touring Florida, urging people to contact members of the Florida legislature and tell them to set aside money for tourism and the economy. Florida's top Republican legislative leaders say they have reached a deal on a new budget, but that $83 billion budget was crafted largely in secret. Governor Scott has called on lawmakers to set aside $100 million for tourism marketing. He also wants money for the state's Economic Development Agency to use as incentives to lure businesses here.
We funded Visit Florida. We've gone from about 80 million tourists to last year we had almost 113 million tourists. We got to fund Visit Florida. We need $100 million in this budget. So I'm traveling the state saying, call your legislators. Let them know we need to get this money in the budget.
The legislature will likely extend its annual session to Monday.
A development battle years in the making in Manatee County could soon be settled. Right now, county commissioners are hearing from local developer Carlos Baruf and dozens of concerned citizens about a project called Aqua by the Bay. Once known as Longbar Point, the revised development plan calls for 2,900 homes, multiple high-rises, and nearly a 2-mile seawall. The County Planning Commission and staff have recommended approval of the plan, and the developers claim the new plan will have no impact on mangroves and seagrass, but those opposed aren't convinced.
Their plan doesn't call for any impact on the mangroves, and they have no plan to destroy the environment whatsoever.
If anything, I think this proposal is the same or worse than the last time when they were here dressed as Longbar Point.
Either way, the developers still need approval on the state and federal level.
A new neighborhood in Venice is now in the works.
But a business nearby is raising concerns about noise and traffic, plus the safety of its own tenants, which they're horses. The neighborhood called the Preserves, that's what it would be called. It would be built near the Foxley Farm in Venice. ABC 7's Christopher Brantley is joining us live tonight with more on what their concerns are. Christopher.
Good evening, Scott and Haley. Foxley Farms is concerned that they themselves might be the source of a whole lot of noise for those residents. And it's true, because just down the road from here, they have one of the most premier equestrian shows.
For 30 years, Foxley Farms has played host to all kinds of horse shows.
They're the third largest economic development enterprise in Sarasota County from a tourism perspective.
On show days, this dirt road is packed with cars and horses. If a neighborhood is to be built next door, it raises a lot of concerns.
The horses can get spooked very easily. Their shows are on the weekends, they're during the week, they're at night. They have loudspeakers, so it's loud.
That may not be very popular with people moving into new homes across this small dirt road.
We are going to make our residents aware of that situation before they buy. There's going to be a notice of proximity that would be placed of record and also provided to potential buyers.
Dan Bailey is the attorney representing the developer who wants to build 118 homes here. Bailey says his client is willing to work with Foxley Farm, and the farm's attorney, Jeff Boone, said the same.
They're not against the property being developed. They just want to make sure that there's adequate safeguards in place.
Certain stipulations have been put onto the table. For instance, homeowners wouldn't be allowed to have outdoor campfires or firecrackers. Both could scare the horses and be a fire hazard.
I'm confident we're going to be able to reach agreement on the vast majority of the issues.
Both sides said they were confident they'd be able to find middle ground. For Foxley Farms, they just want to make sure new residents know what they're getting into.
They don't want to end up having to deal with people who move in next to an airport and then complain about planes. It's the same kind of thing.
This week, the Venice Planning Commission did hear from both sides, although they're going to continue their conversations later this month before they leave the final decision up to City Council. Live in Venice, Christopher Brantley, ABC 7, your Suncoast News.
Thank you, Christopher. And Bob has been watching some storms. We thought maybe we would get some rain out of it. Now, maybe not.
Let's find out. Here's Bob with more.
Yeah, a lot of people get confused when they see these storms out there in the Gulf of Mexico. They look rather ominous, especially when they're a couple hundred miles west of our area. They really explode with lots of lightning there, intense reds as far as the scale goes on the heavy rainfall. And then notice what happens. It's weakening. Now, we're going to get some rain, but it's not as much as we could have if this was over the top of us just about 2 hours ago. Notice the lightning, too. It's all but gone, and that would indicate the storms are weakening. The last frame still showing some moderate rainfall here. Still west of the Manatee County area, about an hour and a half away to 2 hours. So it's a long way off and still has a lot more time to weaken as it pushes toward our coast. But you see hardly any lightning around at all. There's one strike right there, I believe, and elsewhere the storms have really weakened. There is a special marine warning, but basically it's for these storms right here. This line could have some wind gusts up to 40 knots at this point, but doesn't appear to be too rough. This may expire before 6:30 when it's scheduled to expire. There are some inland storms developing, but those will push off well to the east before the night is over. So the next line that moves through will be late tonight, tomorrow morning. That line certainly could have a little bit more rainfall and a little bit more intensity to the storms themselves as they push on through. But you'll notice this line, as we saw with the radar picture, showing weakening cells as they make their way onshore. Rain is in the forecast through this evening, but it will be scattered and it won't be nearly as heavy as we're seeing it out there in the Gulf. Back to you.
Okay, Bob, thank you. A fatal motorcycle crash brings traffic to a crawl on US 41 in Nokomis this afternoon. Troopers say the motorcyclist was heading south on 41 right around noon when it collided with a semi-truck. The biker was pronounced dead at the scene. A partial lane was blocked for a few hours after the crash while troopers investigated. No word on who was at fault or the biker's name. And remember, you can get instant alerts on traffic accidents and other breaking news across the area by downloading our My Suncoast app. You'll get important news, updates, weather forecasts, traffic updates delivered straight to the palm of your hand.
A follow-up now on two criminal cases on the Suncoast, a murder and an attempted murder. Rachel Leahy entered a plea of no contest today to charges that she tried to have her ex-husband killed. The judge accepted her plea. Investigators say last year Leahy tried to hire an undercover detective to kill her ex-husband. She told the detective getting rid of her ex was the only way to get her children back. Leahy was willing to pay for the hit through half of her ex-husband's $5,000 life insurance policy. He filed for divorce in 2011. Leahy will be sentenced at a later date. Also in a Manatee County courtroom today, final details being ironed out before the start of a triple murder trial. Andres Avalos will now face charges next week. Today in court, prosecutors debated whether to allow crime scene and autopsy photos into the trial. Avalos is facing 3 counts of first-degree murder. Detectives say in 2014, Avalos killed his wife and her friend in Northwest Bradenton and then went to a church on US 41 and killed the pastor there.
Circus fans are investing in priceless memorabilia that belonged once to the Ringling family. Hundreds of circus items are up for auction at a Chicago-based event. Some of these items are drawing international attention. The last surviving widow of one of the actual Ringling brothers gave wagon wheels, route maps, and posters to Richard Bennett. We talked to Bennett via Skype from his hometown near Milwaukee, and he said it wasn't easy to sell all these artifacts.
It was hard to give it up, but I still have a lot of it back home. My house still looks like a museum, and so it was kind of hard to give it up, yes. But I have no family to pass it on to, so I'll just sell it off.
For more details about the auction and some of the items up for sale, you can go to our website, mysuncoast.com, for a link.
In just a few weeks, the Ringling Brothers and Barnum & Bailey Circus will perform its final show in Uniondale, New York. You can watch the performance live by logging onto Facebook. The company that owns the circus, Feld Entertainment, is located in Palmetto. Feld says the final circus performance on May 21st will be streamed live on the social media network and on the circus website. It's hard to believe it's coming to an end.
Yeah, and I heard that the tickets for that last show going for thousands of dollars.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
You know, people want to see it.
Right.
Still to come in your Suncoast News tonight, the end of an era. After decades in the spotlight, a British royal is announcing his retirement from the public eye.
And ABC 7 Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan will be back with your full weather forecast and an update on those storm systems. Plus, good news for tea drinkers. The healthier alternative to other beverages may be getting an upgrade.
There's never been a better time to call California Closets. Now during our Finish Upgrade event, save up to 20% when you upgrade to an Italian-inspired wood grain finish. Contact us for your free design consultation today. Visit our showroom or online at californiaclosets.com.
Everyone loves a bright and cheerful smile. Not everyone can find the dental care they need and can afford. Now there's a place nearby where anyone can receive professional quality dental care at an affordable cost. The Lecom School of Dental Medicine in Lakewood Ranch is now accepting patients. You will receive your care in comfortable, state-of-the-art treatment rooms. To schedule your appointment, please call the Lecom Dental Group practices, 941-405-1600. We will be happy to see you smiling again.
You only have one life. Are you gambling with it? 1 in 3 adults have high blood pressure. Not knowing your numbers could cause you to lose, big time. Luckily, you can turn the odds in your favor by getting your blood pressure checked today. Don't leave your health to chance. Learn more at heart.org/HPB.
Let me introduce you to the ultimate Florida window. Do you feel safer with this or this? You'll be proud too.
Going on now. For every 2 windows you buy, get 1 more free. Call today.
Since 2004, Embracing Our Differences has used the power of art and education to promote diversity. One way it accomplishes this is through its annual outdoor exhibition of 45 billboard-sized works of art, each accompanied by an inspirational quote. Join us in creating a community that is inclusive for all, where differences are embraced and individuality is celebrated. We invite you to celebrate the voices and visions of diversity and inclusion at this year's exhibit at Sarasota's Island Park.
When you've been in banking for a long time, it's easy to forget what it was like in the beginning. It took a lot of work and dedication for 7 teachers to start our credit union and create a foundation that we continue to build on today. At Achieva, we never lose sight of the values that have defined us for over 75 years. We know you need mobile banking and lightning-fast solutions, but sometimes you might just need a helping hand. Any bank can make a transaction, but it takes a little more to make a difference. And that's good to know. Achieva, banking for good.
There's never been a better time to call California Closets. Now during our Finish Upgrade event, save up to 20% when you upgrade to an Italian-inspired wood grain finish. Contact us for your free design consultation today. Visit our showroom or online at californiaclosets.com.
It's the end of an era, a milestone the British people knew was coming.
Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, who is now 95 years old, will be putting his royal feet up this fall, retiring from public eye. Soon after the announcement, the prince was seen with his wife, Queen Elizabeth, by her side as they headed to the Chapel Royal and then later to host a lunch. The couple has been married 69 years, still doing more events than any other member of the royal family. It's taken a toll. Last Christmas, the pair came down with some heavy colds, and Prince Philip has been hospitalized several times over the last few years.
The palace is saying quite clearly it's not to do with his health, but at 96 he will be when he steps away. I think it's got to have an impact.
Now, Queen Elizabeth, who has had Prince Philip by her side for 70 years, will soldier on alone on all these public appearances. We'll likely see the younger royals stepping up more to take some of that load off of the Queen.
Hope I look that good at 95, if I can make it that far.
And 70 years of marriage, that's quite amazing.
ABC 7 business commentator Richard Stern joined us now with news of some very small gains and losses today on Wall Street. Richard?
Scott, you're exactly right. Of the three indices we follow every day, the biggest gain or loss was decimal 0.0661% of 1%. No big deal. That despite the fact that the House of Representatives has passed at least the beginnings of a new health care bill. Oil fell. The Dow Jones Industrial Average intraday was up and down by a total of 142 points, but when the closing bell rang, a non-event. Let's take a look at the figures. There you see the Dow Industrial is down by 6.31% at 20,951.47. That on volume of 601 million shares. The NASDAQ, talk about a non-event, up 0.05%, not even 3 points at 6,075.34. That on volume of 1,426 million shares. And the S&P, the big move of the day, the S&P for the day up by 0.06, just over 1 point at 2,389.52. I bet you know the name Fitbit. They make what is called a wearable fitness tracker. And oh, by the way, their business has gotten better and their earnings got better as well. Their revenues made it to $300 million for the quarter. And the company said, and this is very important for a company trying to turn things around, 82% of their sales during the last quarter were brand new items, things that had not been available before. And the reason I say it's important to turn things around, in the last 12 months, shares of Fitbit down by 67%. Today's news, the stock was up by 12%. So it looks like Fitbit is trying to reinvent itself, and for the minute anyway, doing it in the right direction.
Makes sense, since you're probably only going to buy one of those not very often. And Richard, you have some news on Victoria's Secret.
And not very good news, Haley, I'm afraid. Much of the retail sector continues to just fall apart, and today their stock, on some bad news and some bad editorial views, was down by 7%. That's a big hit in one day.
All right, thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.
Okay, we've been, as you mentioned earlier, we've been watching this big chunk of rain out in the Gulf all day long, right?
It looked really impressive, too, about 2 hours ago, but now not much to it. There's still some showers around, and the good news is we're not going to see any severe weather with this line. It doesn't appear. Here's what's happening right now on KCK webcam. You can see the review. What was going on today? Beautiful beach day. We had some sunshine, a few fair weather cumulus clouds, and then later in the day, you can see those clouds starting to increase as that system moves in from the Gulf, and we have some of the high clouds. You can see some of the lower clouds now, still just offshore, about 40 miles from that particular location. Well, scattered showers beginning around 7 and continuing to 8 p.m. There'll be scattered showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorm, and then another line develops overnight. Now, that'll be late tonight and early morning on Friday, and then by sunrise tomorrow, the system, for the most part, should be out of here and starting to turn windy and cooler, say around 8 o'clock in the morning. That's what it looks like right now. There's what I'm saying. I mentioned that very heavy rainfall out there, and then notice we're losing a lot of the intensity of that heavy rainfall. It occurred out in the Gulf Loop Current. There was some energy out there overhead. That has now since moved to the north, and now we're getting the weakening line of showers and storms approaching. It looks like Hillsborough and Pinellas County here before long. For us, some light rain just offshore of Anna Maria Island. These storms, again, moderate to heavy rain with some of these, but notice there hasn't been much lightning at all over the last 30 minutes. Just one or two lone strikes with that cell in particular, which will miss Anna Maria. This activity will eventually move on in, but it still has about an hour to weaken even more so as it makes its way off toward the east. The cold front itself is still back here. This little prefrontal trough out ahead of the actual cold front itself. The cold front will move through, as I mentioned, in the early morning hours on Friday and bring with it a chance for some showers and some thunderstorms. Right now, the chance of severe storms rather marginal right now. More so, we'll get some strong gusty winds with the storms as they move on through. Friday's forecast is calling for partly cloudy skies, so we'll move through the rain during most of the dark time of Friday in the morning, and then we'll wake up and temperatures will be in the low to mid 70s throughout the day. These numbers are not right. It will be in the mid 70s for highs tomorrow for the most part. And the RPM forecast model showing right at 3 o'clock. Notice it's 3 a.m. Friday, there are some indications there are some pretty heavy cells out there in the Gulf. So we'll have to watch those closely for some damaging winds. Right now, it doesn't appear it has enough twist in the atmosphere to create any tornadoes, but you can never discount that. And then we'll see that line move on through. Friday looks to be pretty nice, breezy and cooler with some sunshine returning. And then we'll get a reinforcing shot of some cooler air on Friday night and Saturday morning. That will keep us in the low 60s, even some upper 50s to start the day off on Saturday. So a big contrast from what we had last week as we move through time. The severe weather threat, as I mentioned, from 8 p.m. tonight through 8 p.m. Thursday or Friday morning is marginal at best. Not a real great threat here, but we will see the potential for winds gusting up to 40 miles an hour. And as far as the damaging wind outlook goes, that's at 5%, and really the tornado aspect of it is for the most part diminished considerably due to the fact that the low pressure spin and the energy is going to pass well to the north as it makes its way off to the east. Temperatures behind it chilly into Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, in the 40s and 50s there. 100 degrees right now in Phoenix. And for boaters tomorrow, small craft advisory is in effect. Winds will stay strong tomorrow and even Saturday. Seas running 5 to 7 feet with choppy conditions out there. And the water temperature now at 84. UV index will be a little bit lower tomorrow. Water temperature into the mid 80s at this time of year. Beaches will see a high right around 73 degrees. And the extended forecast does call for clearing skies over the weekend and temperatures into the upper 70s to low 80s. Scott?
All right, Bob, thank you. The Suncoast Traffic Watch. Drivers heading north on I-75 seeing a little bit of congestion near Bee Ridge Road and Fruitville Road exits. And then into Manatee County, there was an earlier crash that was causing some delays near Whitfield Avenue on 301, but you can see it's just a minor slowdown, some yellow on the map at this hour. Haley?
Thank you, Scott. In health news tonight, intermittent or alternate day fasting has become a trend for weight loss. Now, a study published in JAMA Internal Medicine shows there is no significant difference between fasting in certain intervals and just restricting your daily calories overall. At the end of the year-long study, those in the alternate day fasting group lost about 6% of their original body weight compared to 5.3% for the calorie restriction group. Fasting diets either require you to eat very few calories a day, a few days a week, or go many hours without consuming any calories. Tea has long been touted for its healthy properties. It is full of antioxidants, and when it's unsweetened, it is a great alternative to soda. Now, more options could be on the horizon for tea drinkers because there are an estimated 3 billion of them around the world. Researchers sequenced the tea tree's very large and diverse DNA makeup, and now scientists at the Chinese Academy of Sciences say that DNA analysis could lead to a more diversified set of tea flavors by tracing the genes responsible for taste. So maybe you can broaden that taste and drink a little more tea. Well, you may have seen more Epsom salt products popping up at the store, maybe more spa treatments incorporating them. Epsom salt is crystallized magnesium sulfate. Many people are putting it in their baths to ease muscle soreness. The theory is that magnesium is absorbed through the skin, which relieves inflammation. But medical experts say for the most part, your skin is a waterproof barrier and won't absorb all that much magnesium. Although Epsom salt baths are probably harmless, the only FDA-approved use of these salts is to take them orally to regulate your bowels. As if flying wasn't stressful enough, another situation on board a Delta Airlines flight is causing some outrage after a family was kicked off of a plane. Plus, a Kansas police officer at the right place at the right time, his courageous efforts when we return.
SRQ Performance Parts provides parts and accessories from over 300 manufacturers, so you can get that new manifold, carburetor, gasket, bolt kit, or nitrous oxide system fast. We'll help you beat the competition. Call or visit SRQ Performance Parts online today for all your high-performance parts and advice.
Check out mysuncoast.com/dining, your guide to the foodie lifestyle.
This is an important medical announcement. Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to uncontrollable bleeding and even death. If you've been prescribed one of these drugs and have experienced these dangerous side effects, you may be entitled to substantial compensation. Studies show that Pradaxa can cause more heart attacks than warfarin, and other countries have already issued safety warnings against this drug. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. The call is confidential, there's no cost, and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to Pradaxa victims, and thousands of Xarelto victims are filing their legal cases. Call the Drug Watch hotline if you or a loved one used Xarelto or Pradaxa and experienced uncontrollable bleeding, brain hemorrhage, or even death. You must call now.
Call 800-793-6055. 800-793-6055.
The Wild Broadway series at the Players Center brings you the classic farce, Boeing, Boeing. It's the 1960s, and our swingin' bachelor is juggling 3 beautiful stewardesses from 3 competing airlines. But what happens when Boeing produces a faster plane? Comedy ensues. Call the Players at 365-2494 or visit us online at theplayers.org. Opening April 26th, it's Boeing, Boeing.
Today, everyone is looking for carpeting that lasts longer. G. Fried has you covered with Karastan. With a legacy of quality and integrity, we provide you with a huge selection of Karastan carpets with exclusive lifetime limited warranties. All installed by our highly skilled, highly knowledgeable team. Come ask us why Karastan is the best and most durable. G. Fried Flooring America. Our world is at your feet.
Are you Goodwill?
Yes, because when I donate or shop at Goodwill,
I'm creating a job.
I am Goodwill, yeah.
For the last decade, S&S Motorsports of Sarasota has built custom high-performance vehicles for demanding clients worldwide. They're now bringing their 50-plus years of combined build expertise to the parts business. SRQ Performance Parts is your one-stop shop for all your performance parts and accessories.
Dramatic video from a Kansas police officer's body camera captures the moment he rescued a 3-year-old autistic boy who fell into a pond. The boy's mother says her son unlocked the door and left their home when his dad had just stepped away to use the bathroom. Well, fortunately, Officer Aaron Bulmer noticed the boy after he had fallen into the pond. He quickly parked his patrol car and jumped in. The officer and another man were able to get the boy out of the water and eventually back to his worried mother.
As soon as he saw me, his eyes lit up, he stood up and said, "Mama," which is something we worked really hard to get him to say for the longest time.
You know, it was God's hand of protection on that child, and he used me as an instrument.
Officer Bulmer says rescuing people in need is what the job is all about and is truly a life-changing experience. A barbecue restaurant in Houston, Texas gets a little too hot. Look at this. A massive fire broke out early this morning at Charlie's Barbecue. Firefighters were called right after it erupted in flames. They decided it was just so intense they let it burn out because there are few hydrants in that area. The cause of the blaze is under investigation. Fortunately, no one was hurt.
First United Airlines and then American and now Delta. Another flight resulting in a showdown in the cabin, this time between a flight attendant and a Southern California family. The family says they were forced off of the flight with threats of jail time.
It's going to be a federal offense, and then you and your wife will be in jail and your kids will be in
The seat was originally bought for the family's older son, who ended up taking a different flight. So the family gave the seat to their 2-year-old. The couple blames the whole thing on Delta for overbooking the flight. They're outraged over how they were treated.
As a mother, it doesn't matter whether you know it's true or false, it put fear in me.
I got 2 infants and my wife who have nowhere to stay. There's no more flights. Who are we supposed to do, sleep in the airport? No.
The family was kicked off of the flight. Delta has apologized and promised to figure out what happened to find a resolution.
Seems like the common theme is overbooking.
I think that seems like a lot of it, and everyone's patience, you know, is running really thin when you're on these flights and you have a family and you're trying to get home, so it just makes it even more difficult. Well, still to come in your Suncoast News, we're taking you behind the scenes and off-road with Northport Police Department's Special Enforcement Team.
We'll show you how these officers are able to patrol some of the harder to get to areas. That's straight ahead.
There's never been a better time to call California Closets. Now during our Finish Upgrade event, save up to 20% when you upgrade to an Italian-inspired wood grain finish. Contact us for your free design consultation today. Visit our showroom or online at californiaclosets.com.
Being the caregiver for my husband is truly a blessing, but sometimes it's easy to lose a part of myself. To be my best, for him and for me, it's important to have time to be able to recharge. When I called Tidewell Hospice, they gave me the chance to do just that. They helped me find the time to care for myself, all the while with the peace of mind of knowing my husband is in the very best hands. Tidewell Hospice, it's more than you think.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere for the Sarasota Ford Promise. Our promise means a new car you'll love. If not, return it for one you do. At Sarasota Ford, we promise live market pricing. We monitor national pricing on our entire inventory, so you get the best deal. In fact, we guarantee it. Bring us any competitor's ad, and we'll beat it by at least $1,000. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
Let me introduce you to the ultimate Florida window. Do you feel safer with this or this? You'll be proud too.
Going on now. For every 2 windows you buy, get 1 more free. Call today.
The official salon of ABC7. Cutting Loose Salon.
Florida Studio Theater presents Older Than Dirt, now playing in the Court Cabaret. Come celebrate the ups and downs of getting older. From joints popping to mirrors mocking, this show combines some of the funniest songs ever written for a witty and heartfelt 360-degree view of aging. Don't miss what critics are calling hilarious, incredibly creative, that has many laugh-out-loud moments. Older Than Dirt is now playing. Tickets can be purchased by calling 941-366-9000 or by visiting FloridaStudioTheater.org.
There's never been a better time to call California Closets. Now during our Finish Upgrade event, save up to 20% when you upgrade to an Italian-inspired wood grain finish. Contact us for your free design consultation today. Visit our showroom or online at CaliforniaClosets.com.